Well, hello. This is a lesson on using felt boards and felt materials with your felt boards to enhance children's learning. So this is an example of felt materials for the story The Mitten by Jan Brett. So I will read the story and then show you how I would use the materials while I read the story. Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow. I'm going to take all these animals off actually so that they are ready for the story. We've got a bunny, we've got a fox, we have a badger. Okay, now I've got my mitten here. So once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow. At first, his grandmother, Baba, did not want to knit white mittens. If you drop one in the snow, she warned, you'll never find it. But Nicky wanted snow white mittens, and finally, Baba made them. And here's one of the mittens. After she finished, she said, "When you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound, but then I will look to see if you still have your snow white mittens." So off Nicky went, and it wasn't long until one of his new mittens dropped in the snow and was left behind. A mole, tired from tunneling along, discovered the mitten and burrowed inside. It was cozy and warm and just the right size, so he decided to stay. Okay, so here's my mitten, and here's my mole. Here's the mole. So I will put the mole right there next to the mitten. We could put the mitten over him, but it's okay. A snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. It was then that he saw the mitten, and he wiggled in feet first. The mole didn't think there was room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. So here comes the bunny, the snowshoe rabbit hopping by, and he wanted inside the mitten too. Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Having spent the day looking under wet leaves for things to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled, but not being ones to argue with someone covered with prickles, they made room. So here comes the hedgehog. Look at all these animals. As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down. When he decided to move in also, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. But when they saw the owl's glinty talons, they quickly let him in. So here comes the owl. Right there. That's a lot of animals. Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, and the owl were not pleased. There was no room left, but when they saw his diggers, they gave him the thumb. Here's the badger. I really like this animal. Fabric paint and felt, and that's all that was used. So here's the badger. Got the badger. They gave him the thumb, so he's right there on the thumb. It started snowing, but the animals were snug in the mitten. A waft of warm steam rose in the air, and a fox trotting by stopped to investigate. Just the sight of the cozy mitten made him feel drowsy. The fox poked his muzzle in. When the mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and the badger saw his shiny teeth, they gave the fox lots of room. And here's the fox. Our mitten's getting full, isn't it? A great bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up, not being one to be left out in the cold. He began to nose his way in. The animals were packed in as tightly as could be, but what animal would argue with a bear? And here is a bear. Goodness gracious. We're getting lots and lots of animals. The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and bulged to many times its size, but Baba's good knitting held fast. Along came a meadow mouse, no bigger than an acorn. She wiggled into the one space left and made herself comfortable on top of the great bear's nose. Here's our cute little mouse, and she wiggled in. There she is. Here it is in the photo. The bear, tickled by the mouse's whiskers, gave an enormous sneeze. Ah, ah, ah. Choo-choo! The force of the sneeze shot the mitten up into the sky and scattered the animals in all directions. So then we can pretend like they've all fallen. Oh my goodness, they all flew in all directions. Here's the bear, here's the badger, and the bunny. On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was the lost mitten silhouetted against the blue sky. As he ran to catch his snow-white mitten, he saw Baba's face in the window. First, she looked to see if he was safe and sound, and then she saw that he still had his new mittens. I really like this photo, or this painting. She's comparing. Here's the mitten that wasn't stretched out, and here's the mitten that got stretched out by all those animals. So you can see how having a felt board in your classroom with the opportunities for children to explore literature with these hands-on materials can really spur their pre-literacy development. If it's out and available, children can retell the story to themselves or to a friend. Some extension ideas that I've used in the past is I've used a white blanket, a white knit blanket, and I assign roles to the children. So each of the animals is represented by a student, and they get to get under the blanket all together. And then when we do the big sneeze, I fling the blanket off of them, and they all fall on the floor, and there's much laughter and merriment, and then they really understand the story, and they get to act it out. It can also be a transition activity. You can have them act it out in groups of 8 children, and then they can go out to play at recess after having done the acting. And if you have told the story already and then told the story with the felt animals, then when you tell the story using the children, they really know what to do. So that is a wonderful example of how to use felt animals or felt props in your storytelling or in your classroom. All right, I hope you enjoyed that.